This is Rugby Merlin and welcome back to the channel. This is my review of Scotland versus South Africa. So in my coverage I was fortunate enough to catch the kind of build up to the game and it really set the stage. I think Eben was captain, Quagga had his 50th. It was a beautiful occasion. It was Remembrance Day in the UK and they had a moment of silence to remember the fallen soldiers. Both from Scotland and South Africa, in the World Wars. And since then, it was a very touching moment for me personally, and I really enjoyed that, and it kind of set the stage really for a magnificent occasion. So before the kickoff takes place, I'm thinking about like a few things. The World Cup is a big one. I started watching the Chasing the Sun 2, I think, and that was a big match for South Africa when they took on Scotland, and they soundly defeated them. But they weren't ignorant to the threat that Scotland posed, and they have a few South African boys in there as well. So I'm just looking forward to this. And of course, Glasgow won the URC last year down in South Africa. So there's a lot to play for on this one, and I think it's really a cracker of a match. The game starts really as a means to go on, a very frenetic and kind of scramble defense from Scotland. They're trying to make South Africa make errors, and they do in the early part of the match. Scotland seemed to have their hand, then suddenly out of nowhere Pollard puts a little kick in the cross field, and Impimpi takes it, scoops it up, and he scores. He finishes it really nicely, great pace off the mark as always, and somewhat against the run of play, I would say, early on, but we're very welcome early try for South Africa, and it's 5-0. So this is where the game kind of takes a turn a little bit. Scotland put some nice phases together, and they do look dangerous when they can keep the ball in hand. But Eben, with a very, very good question of the ref, I think they get like 2 questions or something like that to ask the ref, and he takes it back for a illegal clean out, and it was 2 Scottish players, the 5 and the 7. The ref does have a look at it, and with the TMO, and they judge that there's been an illegal kind of clean out. The Scottish player is yellow carded, and we're not even sure if it's the right Scottish player, but then later on after the review, he's actually red carded. So it felt like a little bit harsh, and more like they wanted to kind of see how the new red card, because they had a 20-minute red card, was going to run. But a big momentum shift in the match, because Scotland had been doing very well, but that really put them on their heels, and South Africa with the advantage. The game kind of breaks down quite a lot, and it's pretty crazy. A lot of ball in play, and you can see a couple of the big forwards are blowing, sucking in oxygen. But South Africa, as they did like all through this match really, when the opportunity arose, they didn't miss their chance, and Du Toit gets a try. Sloppy kind of throwing from the Scottish, and it goes over the top. He picks up the pieces, and he just powers over almost unopposed. And a really important, again, momentum shift in South Africa's favour. 6-12 now. South Africa do concede a penalty, and that's kicked by Russell, who had his kicking boots on again, and it looked pretty good throughout the match. But it's 9-12, so a very close game, and you're just wondering if Scotland can get their player back on. Can they really make a contest of this? Scotland are pouring forward, but gain that kind of cool head in the final 22 for South Africa. Willie Leroux, that veteran, who's very close to 100 caps. I really hope he gets it because he's been such a great player for South Africa, I think, and he's had his ups and downs, but his last 25, 30 caps have definitely been his best. And he puts a little chip over, and like crossfield kick sort of chip to Mpimpi, who's in full stride, and he takes it over, and there's absolutely no stopping him. So against the runner play again, really, South Africa score another try, and they're just pumping out the tries really when it's needed. So they haven't played their best so far, but they're still getting like hefty points on the scoreboard. So now it's 19-9. So finally, Tuipulotu is captain. I'm glad to see that. He's been a fantastic servant to Scottish rugby. And Hugh Jones, who is a phenom. They get something going in midfield, and they pretty much cut apart the South African defense, which is rare to see. And they get over for a nice try. But the referee brings it back. I think it was for a knock on at the ruck, and it was several phases back. So I'm not sure if that was a legit one, but it was a shame. It's always a shame to see a nice try wiped off. But South Africa again riding their luck in this match, and Scotland, things are not going for them. So can they kind of switch it mentally and keep going in this match? In fairness to Scotland, they do hit a kind of a purple patch, and they're really throwing everything that they have against this South African defense. And it looks like it's going to come off every time, but it just doesn't. So that killer instinct is not there as it has been for the South Africans. And then the South African empty the bench almost. I think Grant Williams does come on as well, but if you don't know, they had a 7-1 split, so Grant Williams was they won, but they brought on the beef. Initially, they were a little bit slow to warm up, and I think that's always the challenge when you bring in so many forwards on at the same time. You know, it's hard to get up to speed, but once they did, it definitely had a significant impact in set piece especially. So Scotland, although they went through a purple patch, they didn't really get the points that they would have wanted, and then the ball then is firmly in South Africa's court. As I said, Scotland do hit the purple patch. Mpimpi in this time gets a yellow, and South Africa down to 14 men. And you're thinking, you know, if there's any time to take the match, this is it. But heroic defense from the South Africans, as always. And it's pretty crazy stuff. The ball's getting flung around like anything. And you're thinking this will favour Scotland, but ultimately South Africa survived that onslaught, and then they slowly get a firm grip on the game as it goes on, and eventually they just kind of strangle the life out of Scotland. I think Scotland have given their all, and the last 15 minutes, I think, is just all South Africa. They kick a couple of penalties, Wiese gets a try, and they end up with quite a nice score against the Scottish. I think it was 32-15. So a very comfortable win in the end. But yeah, it was a very dramatic match, I thought, and very enjoyable. The Scottish, you know, they do what they do, and South Africa do what they do, and South Africa finished their opportunities much better, I think, than the Scottish, and South Africa didn't have many opportunities at times, but they have the ability to score when they need to, and that's a sign of a championship side. They're obviously rusty. Scotland have a little bit more of a warm-up coming into this, but still South Africans were good enough to take the win. I think it was a great occasion. I hope the South Africans who were up in Murrayfield in Scotland enjoyed it, and I'm sure they'll have a couple of beers with the boys after the match and celebrate, you know, on a very important day in all of our cultures. So yeah, great match. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.